You know what I saw last night in the dream? That I have lost my presentation. I did not upload this anywhere. It is on my laptop. I'm not able to find out. So the presentation is here. It's just not coming there. Anybody know why I'm here? Why I'm here? Why I'm standing here? You know the responsibility which I have? Observability stories will happen. I mean, that's a byproduct of you and me speaking. But my main agenda here is not to let lunch queue stand there. So I hold you guys here for an hour and I make you more hungry so the food does not go waste. When I'm talking, I'll ask questions and you will answer. When I'm done talking, you can ask questions and I'll answer if I know. No way I'm expert in this. I'm learning a lot about observability. Kafka is my first love in tech because this is getting recorded and my better half is going to see that. In tech, Kafka is my first love. But technology is evolving so much every day now. For a lot of people, AI is a current affair for them. But for me, observability is my current affair. And why I fall in love with that again? Because I could relate that with the story creation we do in the real life. I don't understand software or technology till I'm not able to relate with the things around me. And I'll give you this example. Sam Newman is here in Bangalore. I'm a big fan of his work. I read Building Microservices long time back. I understood the concept, but I couldn't, apply this often. I was confused. I'm sure a lot of you are confused, how to decide those boundaries of microservices. Till I could relate that with something in the real life which is happening with us. If we come out of the softwares, if you see every organization, you will relate microservices there. There's a reason, there's a department and those don't work as monolith. When I try to understand how they have, segregated the departments and they have the interfaces built, this is the only way you can talk to my department. There's no other way, otherwise you will not get entertained. And that's why I started understanding microservices better. How many of us are here from Bangalore? Awesome. Now you will answer me this, which is the organization which has broke the biggest monolith and created the microservices in last few months? Sorry? Okay. Okay, I'll give a hint. Don't think very serious. It's funny. If you think in fun way, you will tell the answer which I'm looking to hear. But you can think tech way also. So we'll understand the knowledge. Like now we know Amazon Prime has done that from monolith to microservice. So we learned that. It's the other way around. So my question is, which organization has gone from monolith to microservice in Bangalore? Awesome, who answered that? Wow, thank you. But when they did that, they have not built observability there to measure whether it will be successful or not. I was thinking, I wish they could have waited few months because the father of microservices in Bangalore here and they would have consulted Sam Newman for this work. Is this up? No, it's not up. I think it's up. Okay. Which is, okay, I'll probably just keep referring my slides and so that's how I learned the concept of microservices. Now I'll tell you how I understood the importance of observability in my life. Oh my God, I did not know the Sam is sitting here and listening all the shit I'm telling. Actually, I copied one slide from his presentation yesterday which I couldn't show. How I understood the observability. So for me, for good time in my career, I thought observability is just logging. You log, when things go wrong, you will check the logs and figure out, this is what happened in the system behind the scene. When I understood the true value of observability, when I become a mother. A system, a baby is crying and there's no metrics, there's no indicators to tell me why the baby is crying. That's where I understood the real importance of observability. Now, two software architect is looking at the baby because we are so used to of dealing with software. How do I do a RCA of this? Why the baby is crying? Then our parents pitch in and they know the indicators to look at because they are expert in that field. And then they taught us, first take the baby to the doctor. Don't do the RCA now. And before, so that's where I learned it was more beyond the logging. Now I want to see what is in next my slide. I'll tell you another thing where I learned what you need to have in observability. I come from a 3-tier city, and people here who are from 3-tier cities or 2-tier cities like me, what I like about this city is uncles and aunties gossipings. You know, they will come to your mother and tell you, I saw your daughter 7 p.m. there. I don't know what she was doing. And my mother, because I'm a very good kid, my mother knew what I was doing at 7 p.m. at whatever location. And that taught me about observability, another aspect of it, how I am very emotionally attached to my softwares and my work. I really treat them like my babies. When I was pregnant, I was like, oh my God, I already have so many, I'm getting another one now. I hate this situation, and I had a very beautiful picture about it in my PPT, which I can't show you guys, but yeah. Maybe I'll email the PPTs if you want to use it. I hate when somebody comes and tell me, you know, your service or your baby is throwing 5xx, and I don't want to respond them saying, oh really? I don't know about it, let me look at it. The better situation would be to say, you know, I know about it, I am working on it, because as I was saying yesterday, it's a software, it is gonna fail. What we can do about it, the more complex it is, the more it is gonna fail. The more integration it is, the more it's gonna fail. What we can do about it before anybody else know, I know about it and I'm doing something about it. So this is about how I fall in love with observability, how I decided to take this in a different perspective. How do I think observability in terms of building stories? So when it comes to building stories, what are the things needed to build the stories? Sorry? Who answered this? Thank you. That's all? What all is needed? I mean, don't think tech. I'm not talking tech all. I'm just talking life here. Novelty? Heavy word. Thoughts? Good. You need this story. That's a, result. Current affairs. What did you say current affairs? Narrative. Yeah. What else? Sorry? Plot. Events. Yeah. Oh wow. Now finally it is up. Thank you host. So this was that neighbor's picture if I'll run you through. This was the picture where I was saying I want to know all about my babies. We are here, what makes a story, and this is all what is needed to make a story. But there are two most important things before we start crafting any stories. Moral of the story, what we want to convey towards the end. And another important thing which is not lesser than this in importance is the audience, whom this story is for. And believe me, this is also what I learned working with my 2-year-old. Audience and moral of the stories are two most important things in our story. Now let's do some stories. I'm going to throw a problem to you and all of us will figure out what can be these stories in this. Now this is a tech. Now we are getting into tech. All fun is done. My product manager comes to me and tells me, I want to design a system which stores the data, and when it is storing the data, it returns a unique identifier. Somebody gives me that unique identifier and you just return the data back. Simple problem, no complexity in it at all. With this, what could be these stories? What would you like to observe in the system? Anybody wants to try? Size of the data, good. Communication, what will you derive out of that? What would be the conclusion? Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. What else? Good one. Good one. Good one. Who wants to store the data? Which data I'm storing, like whose data I'm storing, right? Because I need to bill. I'm not a NGO. What else? Location, give me what we will derive out of location. Ah, now somebody's talking tech. I'm glad. What else? I'm surprised nobody's talking about latency here, P99s, P90s. What happened in 2 days of conference? You guys are away from your system. What's happening? Nobody's talking about CPU resources. Nobody's talking about heap memory. Are not these the ones which come? But that's okay. I'm surprised. You know, another which all of us should be surprised about is there was no architecture we talked about. There was no tech stack we talk about. I just threw a problem at all of us and we all started figuring out, you know, this is what I would like to observe. This is what I would like to observe. So something which I think a lot of speakers has been talking from yesterday is observability is not just a tech concern. You all just demoed it right now. All this and how you would start baking observability from day one. So my half job is done here. You guys have started figuring out the stories. You guys have understood that, you know, it is not tech. I think you all folks will not be surprised if I tell you I derived observability as a stories, a framework when I was talking to my product manager, not with my developer. So this was a conversation. I joined this storage team in Mimecast and I wanted to understand what's happening in that storage platform. It's a very huge storage platform. We process, I think, 1.8 million emails every day. It's storing petabytes of data. As of now, I'm redesigning that. At the moment, it is running in infra, which is in-house. I'm redesigning that for AWS, who has to, you know, cater to this scale. So definitely I have to understand what's happening in the legacy platform. So I went to my product manager and said, you know, this API, which is really not making sense to me. Who is using this API? And the API was that when somebody sends, you know, some kilobytes of data, while reading it, you can say, from this offset to this offset, I want to read. And I was struggling to design that in AWS because I didn't want it to build in unnecessary complexity. So I asked my product manager, can you tell me who is using this? It doesn't make sense. Why would somebody read the data from between? And he looked at me and told me, Deepti, isn't this something you should be telling me? Isn't this something you should be figuring out? That whether your API is being used or not? And he was right. I asked him another question and somebody told about, you know, storage side, ma'am, you told about it. And I asked him, you know, I want to design a load profile for this new platform. Can you tell me what is the biggest customer for our existing platform and how much data that customer is storing, because I can tune my databases accordingly. He was like, Again the same answer. And then he told me this statement, Deepti, your systems, your Grafana dashboard should be telling me these stories rather than you asking me. And from then, I started thinking, you know, this all makes sense. Observability is just about figuring out stories and concluding them on Grafana dashboard. It is definitely more than that, it's a tracing and logging. But first thing to look at, which I look at, is a Grafana dashboard. So definitely it's not an engineering concern. When you involve product, we will all start thinking observability and metrics more beyond CPU usage or memory usage or latencies. But why are we not able to do it right now? No answer? Yeah, good one. We are struggling with that. That's a real problem. How do we introduce this, frameworks in the legacy system? What else? We are not capturing enough data, and that's the problem. What is stopping us not to capture enough data? We don't know what to capture, which means we don't know what my system is doing. We haven't understood that very well. We have not understood our immediate neighbors, which is the upstreams and downstreams, and that's a problem. I'll again take an example of two-tier cities here. How we are very connected with the neighbors there. We know what's happening, what's their life going on, and our life was very easy because we can utilize them better. But now in Bangalore, we don't talk. We don't even know apart than the surname who is still, living next to us. But in work-wise, something which I would highly recommend is know your immediate neighbors very well, because without that, you will not be able to build traceability. Now, after this session or after this conference, if you have understood the importance of observability, but if you are solving that in isolation, only 30 to 40% of the problem is solved, because again, when someone comes and points you, hey, your baby is crying, it is giving me 5xx, you can look at your systems, but you wouldn't know what they were sending, how traceability was happening here. So these are the few things which I could think that why we are not able to do it. Definitely there's a complexity involved. There's so many upstreams, there's so many downstreams here. It is becoming difficult to bring everybody on the same page. We don't not know enough, which sir just answered, right? Infrastructure just scales at a very high speed. There are blind spots. When we use APIs from AWS or whatever system you're using, we didn't get enough time to explore what all are the default values. If people have used Kafka here, you would spend 2 years, still you would not know how many configurations and default values of Kafka's are. It is highly configurable system. And that's something which would apply to almost all technologies or frameworks out there. Time crunch is definitely there. The time the product manager comes and tells us, this needs to be built, they want that to be shipped tomorrow to the production. So like somehow, just build some services and APIs and ship it to production, rest we will see later. But is it not something happening regarding security 10 years back? We will first deliver the APIs and then we will bake in the security, but now nobody thinks about security like that because so many incidents has happened. Observability is also becoming as important in security nowadays. I have been doing a lot of house hunting in Bangalore because I earn some money, now I want to waste that money. So like, let's go buy house, good way to waste money. But what I know, nobody is building house like this, where the house is built and then we will see cut the windows, cut the doors. They are building house like this, where What's happening inside the house is very visible. The windows and doors are built along with the map. So when we are thinking, I think this is all what I'm summarizing on this, but the only one thing which I want to talk about is visualization first, and this is something which I learned working with the UI developers. UI developers never write even a single line of code till the mockups are not given to them because they don't know what to build. I started applying them into the observability as well, especially around the metrics. First, I want to see, how my visualization is going to look like. Is it going to be table? Is it going to be pie chart? Is it going to be graph? I literally draw that on the whiteboards because that tells me how I'm going to implement that. Look at that visualization and see, is it able to convey you, or it is, somebody just pushed the metrics. If you have hundreds of servers running, right, to cater to the scale which your service is going to do, are you able to have a right cardinality built into your your metrics? Otherwise, if you're going to draw lines for all 100 servers, it's a useless dashboards. You just ticked marked, I have the observability, but when the actual issues happens, is it going to give you the result? Is it going to be useful? It's going to tell you what has happened. It's going to tell you these stories, right? So this is one thing, visualization first is, the first one thing which I think all of us have to start focusing on when we are thinking of observability. Include that in planning and estimations. I usually ask my product managers when they say, can we do this later, let's ship the product, and I say, if it cries second day in the production, don't call me, I'm not going to pick your call. And they get threatened because I have done that also. I won't be like, you didn't let me build, no. Then don't ask me, I've done that in the staging environment itself, so they let me build. So you can have this, bargain. So how important it is for and if you ask them what is the availability you want, are you okay if I take 2 days to figure out what has happened in the system? These are the lines which we use. I use big time and they back off. Now, with all that, usually I think the observability is divided into these 3 main pillars: metrics, logs, and traces. Now, all the elements which we talked, what makes a good stories, let's fit them in 3 pillars and see if there's any elements which is not fitting and we need a 4th pillar. I've been speaking a lot, so you guys want to help? Anybody? So I can have a sip of water and try fixing a demo as well. Traces, what comes in traces? What gonna trace tells us? Yeah, span. That's a technical term. When I look at traces for my solutions, I see characters. I see how much time each character has, so how much was the dialogue delivery for each characters. That's what I see traces. And if we are building traces using open telemetry, I use Jagger for the visualization. There are so many tools out there. But if when I look at my Jagger and I can't see that how till it reaches my service, how many people, how many those characters were involved, what was their their dialogue delivery time, I haven't built good traces in my system. And this is especially needed when you know your neighbors and your neighbors are following the protocol. Otherwise, single standalone traces is not going to be good enough. Logs. What fits in log? What is log going to tell me? Recursive response metadata, yes. But that's technical. I'm not talking tech. You guys didn't realize till now? I'm here to have fun and make sure you are having fun. Logs. Good one. Yes. The whole storyline is telling me, it's telling me what events has happened if things have gone wrong. The favorite one, metrics. Hmm. Character names. Character names I'll get from traces also and as well as from metrics. But if my metrics is very focused on only my dashboard, then I might not get that. So that's why it's important to know the neighbors. What else metrics can tell us? How long it took. So moral of the story. So these are basically, metrics are basically the numeric indicator which is gonna tell me the conclusions. So first I see whether the conclusion is good or not good. When it is bad, when this is not what I wanted in my story, we'll take the help of logs and traces. What has happened? How did I lead to, in that big pie, so many 500x? So, looking at this, does anybody feel there could have been fourth pillar, or are we good? These three being the main pillar for the observability, is they together can tell this story? And nobody's right and wrong here, maybe I have missed it. So I'm taking help so I can, just refine it. Sorry? P1s? Events. Events, I thought logs can tell me. But if you think otherwise, visualization is in? Uh, you, the graphs, metrics, alerts, yes. That could have been the fourth play, I missed it. Yes. Yeah. Actually, I missed calling that out. Thank you for letting me know, because the alerts are the one which let us sleep peacefully in the night. We will hear the cry when the baby is crying. Otherwise, I'm sleeping peacefully. Notifications, alerts, yeah. Are we all good? Settling in the fourth pillar? I like that pillar also. Thank you for adding that. Now it's a hard part because I restarted my system and I don't have a demo setup running, but let's see what we can do. I want to show this, so I wanted to keep the demo as simple as possible. Don't judge this setup from the architectural best practices perspective. It's a shitty one, but it does the job of, so what I had in demo, at least show the code, because it's not going to take time to start the cursor. I have few metrics so I can show the Grafana and all. I have a store service, so I'm gonna pick the problem where all of us identified these stories. There's a service who accepts the data, it does not care what data it is, and somebody tells, oh, give me the data back. So service takes the unique identifier and gives the data back. So that service is a store service who is doing that meaty work for us. Because I wanted to run this whole demo local on my system without any Wi-Fi connection, so I'm using a local disk to store the data. I wanted to show you the tracing, how it looks into the Jagger. This service is definitely not needed, but I wanted to service, didn't want to add the complexity, hence I have a data producer service. Because we want to generate a lot of data, so just wrote a shell script which is calling two ANS points, accept the data, return the data, which takes a customer ID and data. So it was a small, easy setup. Good that I have a cursor running. And what happened? Because I came out of the play. Did it drag? I have to drag that side. Can you help me? I think it's dragged. We just need to drag a little further. No, I might need another screen to be dragged. I might need your help. So it's going to be little difficult for me to, because I'm looking for my mouse pointer. Okay, I have to drag the mouse pointer as I, okay. Awesome. I don't use this stuff so much. I'd work on laptops directly. But if you guys, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So this is that simple data producer service, if you guys can see. And if I can collapse this, which I can now, this is store service. So simple two services, data producer service is just a wrapper to show the representation of two services, nothing else. In this demo, what I wanted to show you folks is that how easy it is to build these three pillars. On fourth pillar, I don't have a demo of fourth pillar because I couldn't identify that, though I have that in my production system. How easy it is to build these three pillars in our any service. Now coming to the open telemetry, you really don't need to do anything much when we are running our applications. We hook in the open telemetry agent, and then whatever is the visualization tool, you will pass that information while hooking up the open telemetry agent, and it just starts passing the data, and that's how you will get the data on your Jagger, which I'm gonna start. Give me a few minutes. Awesome. I'm just keeping my finger crossed that the restart hasn't caused all data loss here. Which it has erased all the data from my local, and I don't mean to keep you folks away from the food for the longer time, but I'm available here. If you want to see, how things looks in Jagger and Grafana, I can show you, or I'll fix the demo right after this and we can come back if you're interested, but let's see. So if I show you the command, which is so easy to hook in your open telemetry agent. It's very hazy. Let me see if I can increase. It's really not readable, but if you see this Java agent, open telemetry Java agent jar, this is what you do to plug in your open telemetry agent with the your visualization tool. This is where my Jagger is running because I'm using that for visualizing the data. So always in my local, it's Jagger, it's Grafana, Prometheus are running because these are visualization tool. In our team, we always do not just the functional testing, but this observability testing also in local before we push our code to the main branch. We know we have got what it is needed to get the right observability build. This is very simple, standard thing. We all are using the AI tools. You ask them, it will return you this command, very standardized process, there's nothing fancy in it. Now, so this takes care of the tracing. Coming to the two logs, all of us have been doing from our software engineering childhood, log.info, log.debug, log.error. Now I show that really, Grafana, I wanted to show that, so I can show that setup. So this is a Micronaut application. Micronaut does provide lot of good support already for exposing the matrix. It has actuator endpoint, Prometheus and matrix, which is gonna keep pushing the data to the Prometheus all the time through the scrapping. You just need to add, if I can get my pom.xml to show. Hmm. I can give the Git to you folks rather than wasting time, but you add 2 micrometer dependencies and you will have your system up and running to start pushing the metrics to any dashboard, to any tool which can scrap the metrics. I am using Prometheus right now. So in Prometheus, you go and configure the service from where the Prometheus needs to pull metrics. Very simple, very standardized process. And then if I can show one last thing, if I can get metric services here. So if you want to register any specific, when you use the Micronaut, it already starts sending lot of metrics, the default ones, which is CPU, memory, heap and all that by default to the Prometheus, but because we want to expose the metrics which are specific for our system. And the problem which we are talking, I thought the 2 metrics which is very important is definitely somebody talked about how much data we are storing. We need to build that data. We need to make sure that we are able to support that data at the size it is growing. We can monitor that also. Another thing is how much data is being retrieved, because the storage and retrieval both are the cost to my system. There is a network cost in retrieval. Somebody is storing 10 KB, but picking that up 1000 times in a day is going to cost it. So these are the 2 becomes the business metrics or product specific metrics for us, and that's very simple. We need to learn these, what kind of there are counters, there are histograms, what fits our need for that metrics, and calculate that and starts pushing it. That's all. The Prometheus just does the rest of the work. Now if I can go back to my PPT and show you how things works behind the scene. Can you help me to grab this again? I struggle with this in office, so I never connect the extended laptop desk displays. Thank you. I'll skip this because I couldn't show you the demos, folks. Sorry for this. But I think this can give the gist how easy it is to set up this whole thing. See if this becomes more readable. Okay. So when we are starting the application, we are hooking the open telemetry agent, and how it works is when the new HTTP request comes to the data producer service, which was the first service, the open telemetry agents will see whether there is already a span ID here or not. If it is not there, which will not be the case in our demo perspective, it will create a new span ID, and then when it calls the store service endpoint, it's gonna add that span ID into the request header. So thus when the request goes to store service, the store service is also running with the open telemetry agent and says, it got this span ID already, I'm not gonna create one, I'm gonna reuse this. It reuses that, it returns the response back to the data producer service, and then it exports that span ID data to the Jagger, which was a visualization tool. This guy also here uses the same span ID, which they send it and they exports the data back to these Jaggers. And then Jagger says, okay, these 2 data has the same span ID, that means I need to connect them. And then through Jagger, it shows this, beautiful lines which shows data producer service took this much time, store service took this much time, ABC took this much time, and this is your total time for the request. And it shows that for every request, it is a very powerful tool which can show so many different visualization here, and that's how easy it is to get tracing across services. We just need to standardize that way in our organizations. We need to have a standard open telemetry jar where everybody can use to start the services and have a visualization tool which people can just start sending the data. Another setup was the Grafana setup, which I spoke briefly, but I can explain them better here. When I was running the Prometheus, I configured Prometheus to listen from the data producer service, so it knows where my data producer service is running. It knows that it has a /metrics endpoint, which it needs to scrap to keep getting the metrics again and again, which it keeps does. And now the Grafana, which I was using for the visualization, Grafana knows that it needs to use Prometheus as a data source, and then when we create, how many of us has used Grafana here for visualization? I just want to know that am I speaking alien things here? Or any visualization tool to build the dashboard, they all work mostly the same way. They use some query language. So they would query your, main tool, which is storing the matrix data over a period of interval, and then shows that whole things into the dashboard. So this is again a very standard thing. If you see here, I just configured Prometheus from where to read the data, and I configured Grafana where to read the data from. These are very standardized process we can build into any organizations. Because we will use Spring Boot or Micronet, sorry, I'm a Java person, but every language would provide something very similar. They provide the endpoint, something like Prometheus or Matrix, which can help to push the data continuously to these tools. I did cover a little bit of this already into the previous slides, so I'll skip this. Have been talking about this standardization quite often, that if you build these standardization which I have been talking, observability just becomes very easy. Another thing, if you already identify, if you understand the problem which my service is solving, you can build those metrics. Like when I was building my data producer service, store service, I know it is solving two concerns, returning the data and storing the data. So while building the code from scratch, I started pushing those metrics. Now, it is the query language complexity which we are going to use into the Grafana dashboard or any dashboard. We can use these metrics to derive n number of things, data stored, top 5 customers, total data being transferred, customer which is only using lot of retrieval and less storage, so we can think of billing them separately. But if we have understood the problem which we are trying to solve through our code and start pushing them from, scratch. One thing to be cautious about is the performance considerations. When we are pushing lot of data out to meet observability, it is going to have a performance implication. I have been part of that crime in my career before. We are pushing lot of logs, and then it slowed down our main functionality. All of this is gonna eat your network traffic, so balance out. Don't blame me that I said observability and the system is slow. You have to take the call. We already talked about cardinality. At what cardinality you think your dashboards are making sense or they are not making sense. If you are making them very complex and very colorful, I can guarantee when the need arises, those are not going to be very useful. Keep them simple. Keep them, build a lot of filters also. Maybe you can sometime want to just analyze a server, specific server. So can I just, have the dashboard work for single server also? And I think these are the last, if I want to summarize this 30 minutes, these are the main 3 takeaways. This is definitely beyond engineering. I have seen a big benefit in my team when I started involving the product managers in these discussions. Breaking silos, know your neighbors, both the sides, then they will know their neighbors, then they will know your neighbors, and you can have very good tracing across the organizations. Nobody is delivering services in isolation. And yeah, consider that in design and development. Once you have standardized this, it's just few minutes of job to just keep pushing the metrics and code that. It's not going to take a lot of time. All of us are using co-pilots or cursor and everything, which is making our life more simpler. With that, I am done. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes.
So I want to understand, when you talk about AI is fast forward a little bit, right? Observability design, because it has to be designing your entire system.
In the world of AI agents and MCP, I want to understand your thoughts. How is there a change in the way that we'll design observability in the systems, or it's pretty much add-on? Just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Uh, see, what I liked is whatever is tech coming, AI is coming, MCP is coming, observability is gonna remain the way it was. I think the focus increasing more when the AI or MCP is coming, because we want to know what they are doing behind the scene. So the focus, I think, is more on the observability now than any time before. Lot of code is being generated, and observability becomes important to know whether the code is doing the thing which is supposed to do or not. So we are using Cursor in our organization big time, where every developer is generating code. We don't get time to review every single line of code. But one thing which I ask when I review the code, what is your observability? How are you going to judge whether your code is doing the right thing or not? And I do ask almost every time this question. Either they answer me that this is existing, metrics which is already in place, or this is what I have built new.
Sure. Thanks.
Do we need to have an exclusive Prometheus and as well as Grafana servers for data visualization?
There are a lot of other visualization tools out there. People do use New Relic also. I'm using this, so this setup was running in my system, but you might need to have something to visualize.
Yeah, we need to have, but at the same time, do we need to maintain an exclusive server or in our local?
Lot of organizations do have the centralized servers running, which every team uses. I've seen that setup in most of the organizations. So they call them cloud ops teams or tech ops team who set this up, and we all just hook them to it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Cool. I think we are done. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience for me. I'm sorry I couldn't show the demo. I'll fix it. If you want us to see it, feel free to contact. Thank you, Deepti. Thank you.